This show is a part of Pop Americana. For more great shows like this one, please check the link in the episode description. Cartoons, the animated frontier. These are the voyages of the Cellcast podcast. Its continuing mission to explore strange new cartoons, to seek out new animation styles and new creative storytelling methods, to boldly go where so few ever go again. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cellcast,
the animated series.
Joining me today is a man who can't keep from getting lost in the tunnels, Jacob.
I do get distracted sometimes.
Indeed.
Why, thank you. I'd like to introduce our co-host, a man who just needed a pedal. That's all he needed. Welcome, Drew.
And yet, I shall take the entire flower.
How rude.
And I just have to say, getting into this, why didn't Rapunzel think he'd take the whole thing?
How rude.
Anyway, we are on season 1, episode 21 of Tangled, the animated series, which is entitled The Alchemist Returns. It first aired on December 16th, 2017. It was directed by Joe O and written by Dave Schiff. In this episode, Varian comes to Rapunzel for help in finding the remnants of the Sundrop Flower, which may hold the key to stopping the Black Rocks. Working together, they venture through the old tunnels beneath Corona. However, as they reach their prize, Varian betrays Rapunzel and steals the flower so he can use it to free his father. Unfortunately, his attempt fails, only for him to realize the flower's magic now exists within Rapunzel. To which I will say, no friggin' duh! We've known that since the movie! In this episode, it's revealed that the Sundrop Flower still exists after Rapunzel's birth. It continued to exist after Rapunzel's birth, I mean. The melody of the song Healing Incantation is featured in the scene with the Golden Flower.
That's right.
Eugene references the events of Not in the Mood. This is the third episode where Rapunzel has a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And Varian's drawing of Rapunzel at the end of the episode is from the concept design from the Tangled the movie by Glenn Keane.
Nice.
So, this is kind of part 2 of the end of season 1 arc in many ways.
In a way,
if you
yeah.
Consider the next 2 episodes. Well, the next 2 episodes are part of this too, but I mean, This is really we've been moving in that direction since the last episode we reviewed. Although this one has a lot more. What did you think of this episode?
Oh, dude, the anybody want a cookie?
Not particularly.
No, definitely
not when they're that color.
Yeah, no, I don't want to eat a purple cookie. Come on. But good night. The plot thickens. Oh, it gets gravy thick in this one. And it's just...
Well, no, it thickened in the last episode.
Yeah.
This time it's been baked.
There we go. It's
into
baked
a cookie.
Yeah, it's been baked into a cookie and dyed purple.
Apparently.
And so we have these two running situations going on where Variant returns, and apparently he's not very liked by anybody in Corona because he threatened the princess, in which
pretty much
he did threaten her.
Yeah.
But it's Rapunzel. She has this she's very forgiving in like what anybody else does to her or does to anybody around her to an extent.
And she is still feeling guilty from having to turn down helping him
exactly
at that time, despite the fact she really did not have a choice in the matter.
No, she didn't. So Varian returns, and obviously he's not very liked by the people of Corona because he threatened the princess.
Yeah.
So he returns asking for a favor. It's like, and Rapunzel, like you said before, is looking to be like, I felt bad about what happened, and so I'm going to do this. And so they wind up, like, I can't remember what the book was called. The book of
the Diary of, and they showed it in that Valentine's Day like episode.
Yeah,
it was the Diary of King Hersdare Sonorand.
Okay.
I'm probably mispronouncing that.
And
The Old King.
the Old King. There we go. The fact that like Corona has all these underground tunnels. Like, how many tunnels do they have? Like, so
They are living on top of an anthill
pretty
at
much,
this point.
and it's an island.
Keep in mind that anthill probably goes all the way. All those tunnels probably go all the way under that lake, and we know there's at least another tunnel over at the Snuggly Duckling. It doesn't go anywhere as far as we know.
Yeah, it goes
outside to the middle of the swamp.
Yeah,
But it is there.
yeah. So you get the fact be like, even Rapunzel didn't know that be like, you know, her father had kept the flower. So obviously he would, because it's, you know, kind of a significant, but you would lock it down in this very deep, dark tunnel, which is very odd. And the mechanic system of how the bottom of the vault works. I mean, like, that was fantastic. And then you get the automaton.
Yeah, the automaton.
The automaton attack.
That was interesting. I mean, and admittedly, when I first saw that, I thought, there's no way they're using it for this episode and this episode only. Because this is just, there's too much thought put into this
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
If it was just a this episode thing, you would not have the music box on the back of it.
No.
You just wouldn't.
So we get that fight. And it's really good when you can break up the monotony of an episode where it's more of a journey and you get a little fight scene to it. And then you finally get to the flower, and then throughout that journey, you get the fact that Variant isn't really concerned about Corona. He's not really concerned about anything.
No, he is focused on, I've got to do this to save my father.
Yeah, he's sole focused on something. And if you're not expecting it, if you're not expecting that almost a heel turn, if you kind of forgot an episode, it's like, it's a very clear reminder, oh yeah, he's turned bad.
Well, I mean, it was at the end of Queen for a Day.
Yeah.
He knew he was going to be taking on at least a more antagonistic role.
Yeah.
But we really weren't sure, at least I wasn't sure, how antagonistic this was going to be. If it was going to be I'm angry at you and I'm going to be, in your way as we go into the last bits of this episode. Or what we actually get, where he's obviously the villain of this of the end of the season, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while I understand where he's coming from in this, it's a very disappointing move for him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I think the writers did a bad job. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm saying as a character I came to like in What the Hair and Great Expectations, the two episodes he was in really prior to this, where he had a major role. I got to where I liked him in those, and I'm hoping, and I understand what he was going through at the end of Queen for a Day, but to see him actually go through this his anger fester in him so much that now he's going to, not just what he does here, but what he does in the next couple episodes, it's just very disappointing moves continually for this kid.
Yeah,
he's not just being disappointing to Rapunzel and to the kingdom. He's being disappointing to us as viewers, because at least I liked this kid, and to see him fall like this.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I've not seen seasons 2 or 3, so I do not know. Shush. I don't know what's coming.
I said nothing.
I am really, really hoping that we get a redemption arc for him.
All right.
That's my hope.
Okay. But
we'll get more into that in the next episode.
Yeah, so Variant's transformation into the villain.
Yes.
I love it. I kind of like the quote that Yoda uses from Star Wars.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads
to suffering.
I sense much fear in you. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm just putting this out there as a reminder, especially here, because I think we'll get more into it in the next episode.
Yeah.
But when we first meet Varian and his father, it almost mirrors King Frederick and Rapunzel's relationship. They both, the fathers both know no more than they're telling their kids, because they're trying to, honestly, I think they're both trying, we know King Frederick's trying to protect Rapunzel.
Yeah.
And I think very much that Quirin, I think is his father's name.
Quirin.
Is trying to protect his son because he knows his son's interests.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling Quirin's and Varian's ancestry paints a very broad stroke as to where getting sucked into this sort of thing too far might lead. And I think that's what in Queen for a Day, when Quirin was trying to write that message to give to Varian that he's still holding on to when we see him in this episode.
Yeah.
I think that's what that message is there to tell his son. It's like, this is what this is leading to. Do not be stupid about this. I should have told you sooner, granted, but don't retaliate against Corona because of me, because this is my fault. That's honestly what I think. It's kind of sad.
Okay, so that
I have a feeling if admittedly, I'm hoping whenever this storyline crops back up between Quirin and his son, and they get him out of the Stone Amber stuff, that we finally do get to see what that note says.
Yeah.
And it is something that perhaps that is what will lead to Varian's redemption.
Okay.
That I'm hoping to see. But it's interesting to see where Quirin failed. We'll see perhaps King Frederick will actually succeed, because King Frederick's going to be the one who recognizes his mistake. Not to get too far into spoiler territory for the next couple episodes.
Right.
But, I mean, honestly, if at some point you don't think King Frederick's going to come around, you're not paying attention.
All right. So I'm going to bring this up. Okay. So when we see, I think it's in Queen for a Day, part 1, before he gets stuck in amber. Like, you see where
he's trying to get his son's attention, but his son is so focused on trying to save him, he's not listening to his father.
All right. Yeah. So just a friendly reminder for our audience. So back in the episode Queen for a Day, part 1, you see the back of
part 2.
It's part 1.
Part 1. Sorry.
Part 1. So you see the back of Quirin's the back of his hand. It's got a mark on it. Mark, symbol, what have you. That will come into play later, if you haven't watched ahead.
And way back in Tangled Before After, there was a mysterious man who had that symbol too.
Exactly.
Just keeping all this in mind.
Exactly. So we have that we have that story established where, and then we have the one with Eugene and
we do have
Cassandra.
That with Eugene and Cassandra trying to keep everyone from killing each other.
Yeah, and trying to solve this mystery.
Why is everyone telling the truth?
Yeah.
I especially like that the uppity guys is speaking is actually speaking with an American accent. When he gives up his own snooty accent, it's like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah, that was funny. So overall, like the fact that Eugene and Cassandra they're trying to solve it, and it's I love a good mystery. I've always loved a good mystery and try to figure out how to solve something. And
but I mean, admittedly, you kind of knew that was Varian's doing if you watched all the way to the end of the last episode.
That is true.
When Varian finds the remainder of the attitude switching serum,
the mood elixir.
Yeah, the mood elixir. I thought you said moon. It's like, wait a minute, you know something I don't. No, the mood elixir.
Mood elixir.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell when you're watching that this works similarly to that mood elixir. So it has to be somewhat connected to it, but yet it's all telling people to tell the truth.
That is true.
What exactly is on their mind. So
all right. So I think we've gone through this episode. It's a really, really good episode.
Yeah.
And
it's a perfect lead into our 2-part series season finale.
All right. So I did want to bring up, because we completely forgot to mention this with the scroll they find.
Yes.
In the last episode. So we get this partial of a scroll in which apparently Rapunzel's father is trying to keep from her.
Yes.
And we don't know why yet in the series why he's doing this.
But you can tell, at least from the quick glance that we get at it, that the sun has drops going towards the sun drop flower, and the moon's got drops going down to what we can barely make out as black rocks.
Yeah.
The black rocks.
Yeah, the black rocks. So this will come. This is going to be a much larger story within the seasons 2 and 3.
Yeah, that much even I can tell.
Yeah, it's like, just hang on to your seat, folks. Be like, this series gets really, really good. Be like, not saying it wasn't good before, but it gets better from here on out.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind.
We are going to, when we get to the end of season 1, we are going to talk about, as an epilogue, our thoughts on season 1 as a whole. So we'll get to that when we get to that.
Right.
So I think that does bring us to the end of this episode.
Yes, it does.
So join us next time for season 1, episode 22, The Secret of the Sundrop, part 1. Come, Jacob, we must prepare for next week.
Prepare for what, Drew?
The same thing we do every week, Jacob. Record a podcast!
Oh, boy!
So where can they find you, Jacob?
You can find me on Facebook at Jacob B. Heron, also on Facebook at Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where I try to draw each and every day. I don't get to it as often as I like, but join me there. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Jacob B. Heron, on Twitter at Jacob Heron, and Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. So where can they find you, Drew?
You can also follow me on Letterboxd at GGeorge759, Facebook as Drew Dodgen, my Facebook page where you can see pictures I've taken at Drew's Photo Bin. You can also follow me on Twitter at GGeorge759.
You can email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter at cast_cell.
You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/thecellcastgaming.
You can also follow us on YouTube at Cellcast,
Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts,
Google Play Podcasts,
Stitcher,
Spotify,
and your favorite podcast directory.
You can also listen to us on the Movie of the Week podcast with Jim Heron, where we talk about live-action movies. And remember, Cell is a single L.